Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you the top 10 NFL free agents that I believe the Las Vegas Raiders need to sign. If you haven't already heard of our awesome sponsor, Manscaped, you should. These guys got the best male grooming products out there, and if you want to save 20% off and get free shipping on these products, go to manscaped.com. Make sure you use promo code Raiders because, let's face it, it's the only way you're going to get hooked up with this amazing deal. So the way that I have these players ranked is from 10 down to 1, and I am going to sprinkle in some honorable mentions because, full disclosure, when I made this video, the Raiders did not move on from Trayvon Mullen, so I'll probably throw in another cornerback name to at least keep in mind. If the Raiders sign anyone, I'm going live. I went live for the Alex Leatherwood news. I went live for the Trayvon Mullen news. If the Raiders make a move, I am going live. And if they sign Ndamukong Suh, if they sign Daryl Williams, buckle up, put your drinking pants on because it's going to be a party here on the Raiders Report. So make sure you're subscribed and make sure you got those notifications turned on. Let's go to the first player coming up here on my list of a player that I think that the Raiders should at least pick up the phone and call. It's Brandon Shell, and he didn't play too many snaps last season for Seattle. Played just a hair around 500, 600 snaps. 10 games overall. He allowed 3 sacks, but he plays right tackle. To me, there are 3 right tackles still available out there that I would say could help the Raiders out right now. To me, Brandon Shell is one of those players, and he's not going to be an absolute standout player, but I think everyone watching right now, and if you think that the Raiders need to upgrade their offensive line, like the freaking video right now, because me, my mother, people who don't even know Raiders football, think that the Raiders need to upgrade their freaking offensive line. So Brandon Shell comes in at number 10 here on my list. Let's go to the next name here on the Raiders Report for players that I just think that the Raiders need to potentially target in free agency, and who knows, maybe even sign. Number 9 is going to be Ereck Flowers, and just like the Raiders moved on from Leatherwood, you have even now a bigger need on the interior of your offensive line. Flowers has played a little bit of left guard in the past. He has played offensive tackle, though he was not good at offensive tackle. But here's the thing. If you want to be able to have a situation where, what happens if you want to kick Dylan Parham over to right guard? Maybe he's the better option over there. You could sign Ereck Flowers, have him play left guard, and yeah, he was bad at offensive tackle, but it's still a player who at least offers you a little bit of flexibility. He's played in at least 588 snaps every year since 2015, and when you look at his PFF numbers, 72.0 last season, 78.1 in pass blocking, and then 64.4 in run blocking. 16 games played last season at 6'6", 330 pounds, 6 sacks allowed. He's got long length. He's a big body. He's also played on the New York Giants, so him and Patrick Graham, yeah, I get it, 2 different sides of the football, but there is still a little bit of a connection there. So here's my question, because when you talk about free agency targets, a lot of times you look at your team, and then you look at your team's biggest needs. I want to know from every single one of y'all crazy mother effers down in the comments, what is the Raiders' biggest current need? Offensive tackle, defensive tackle, offensive guard, edge. If you think it's something else, maybe it's cornerback since the Raiders moved on from Trayvon Mullen, let me know down in the comments. Let's go to the next free agent target here. I'm going to go Bobby Massie, offensive tackle. Is he 33 years old? Yes. Yes, he is. But I have seen this. If Trent Williams can still play at a high level at left tackle, why can't Bobby Massie play at a high level for the Raiders at right tackle? 6'6", 325 pounds, has plenty of playing experience in the AFC West. So when you combine all of those things there, Bobby Massie is at least an interesting name to me. 13 games played last season, 5 sacks allowed. Massie makes the list, but there is still one other offensive lineman here, which you guys probably know who it is already. Alexander Johnson coming in here at number 7. And a lot of the reasons why I just said about Massie knowing the AFC West, A.J. Johnson, Alexander Johnson is a player to keep in mind. Do I think linebacker is one of the biggest needs for the Raiders? No. It sounds like Darian Butler. Again, I'm recording this video on Tuesday. I believe Darian Butler makes the team. It sounds like Luke Masterson has made the team. Denzel Perriman, Divine Diablo, Jayon Brown. But if you can add another linebacker to this rotation in terms of being an overall player who can also potentially get after the quarterback, being an edge rusher, if you decide to go with a 3-4 front, that does add some value. We got 6 more names to get into, but friendly reminder, Manscaped is today's sponsor in fantasy football. this is fantasy football season. What I'm trying to do for all y'all is for you guys to be able to put the PP back in PPR, because if you're not playing in a PPR league, you're doing something wrong. And if you want to get 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there, make sure you use promo code Raiders. Why? We are simply hooking up the nation here with all these amazing deals that we got going on. I would recommend trying out the Lawnmower 4.0. I would recommend trying the Ball Toner. They have the most comfortable boxers that you could ever potentially purchase. And for me personally, I love these boxers. You can get a 3 set of them. They're like $66. But remember to use promo code Raiders at manscaped.com. That's going to get you 20% off, and you will get free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. Let's go to number 6 here on the list. It's Odell Beckham Jr. Some of you are like, wait a minute, Mitch. The Raiders don't need a wide receiver. You're right. It's why he's number 6. If you were to just break down the overall talent of wide receiver, or of overall free agents, I can make an argument that Odell's the second best free agent available. But he's number 6 on my list because it's not a need for the Raiders. But I am in the camp. If you can get better, why would you not try to do it? If you add OBJ to this offense, you're the best offense in the National Football League. That does intrigue me a little bit. It has to intrigue you a little bit. The injuries do scare me, but if Odell's like, hey, I want to be a Raider, bring him in. OBJ, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams. If that doesn't make you a little bit excited, boop, then you need to check your pulse. Number 5 here on the Raiders Report for some free agent targets. I'm going to go with Jamie Collins. And Jamie Collins is a player that I like a lot because of his ability to not only be a good player in situations, but to also be a player coach. He can stop the run, he can still drop back into coverage, and he can blitz. Collins also would be a really good player, kind of like a Deron Harmon. Remember how Casey Hayward helped out the Raiders last season? He's played in multiple Patriot systems, and what do I mean by that? If you've played in Detroit underneath Matt Patricia, then guess what? You have played in a Patriot system. Last season, he had 30 tackles, a sack, 4 tackles for loss. When you look at a lot of his PFF numbers, he shows up and he gets it done. There's not too many 3-4 linebackers in today's NFL that have his experience, that have his length, that can do everything that he does. Sure, you're probably only going to play him for 300 snaps a year, but guess what? That's okay. Jamie Collins is number 5 on my list. Coming in here at number 4, it's the name that I get asked about maybe more than just about anyone. It's Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh at defensive tackle, he's a Raider to me. He wants to be a Raider. Apparently, he's looking, for about $9 million. But this is a dude who, he hasn't missed a game since 2011. The Raiders are still desperate at defensive tackle for depth. I like Bilal Nichols. I like Jonathan Hankins. There are some names out there. But the fact that he has shown interest, the fact that I think that you could use him to groom a player like a Neil Farrell Jr., use him to groom a player like Matthew Butler, will go a long way. On top of that, 6 sacks last season. Year before that, he had 6 sacks. The player with the most sacks on the Raiders roster at the time that I'm recording this video is Jonathan Hankins with 14 career sacks. And Ndamukong Suh was a Hall of Famer and would really, really help bolster our interior line. So I'm curious on how many people watch this video, and I'm curious on how many people want Ndamukong Suh. If you want the Raiders to go sign Ndamukong Suh, like the video. Here's the interesting part, though. If he wants $9 million, would you still like the video? It's important, I know, but these are the questions I like to ask here on the show. Let's go to number 3 here on my Raiders free agent targets. It's Linval Joseph, and some of you are like, wait, why is Linval higher than Ndamukong Suh? It's because Linval Joseph is a better defensive tackle than Suh, and I'm telling y'all right now, I would be more excited about the Raiders signing Joseph than I would them signing Suh for the simple fact of he is a better player. It really just comes down to that. He's had at least 44 tackles every single season since 2011. 162 career starts, 12 last season. In 2021, his PFF grade was a 63.1 overall. He's a little bit below average against the run, but I would like to have a DT who can still try to get after the quarterback. And you look at some of these numbers here, he's a big old boy up the middle. At 6'4", 330 pounds, he knows the AFC West. And if I can get some inside knowledge on Justin Herbert and on the Chargers, I'm going to take that. That's where he played last season. 57 tackles, still playing at a pretty high level. But guess what? He's actually not the highest-ranked defensive tackle I have on this list. Let's go to number 2 here. It's Sheldon Richardson. And to me, Sheldon Richardson is still the best defensive tackle free agent available. He's the best one. He probably doesn't offer you too much in the pass rushing game at this point of his career, but he's a better run stopper than a dude like, I don't know, He's better run stopper than Jonathan Hankins, honestly. 125 career starts, only 7 last season. He's bounced around over the past few seasons with the Browns and the Vikings. And then when you look at a lot of his numbers, though, he is a very consistent player overall, but he is better against the run. Last season, 39 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. All the reasons why I have mentioned guys like Linval and Ndamukong helping out players like Neil Farrell Jr., I think Sheldon Richardson, if Matthew Butler has a good career and he puts on some weight, because Butler's not a big player when it really comes to DTs, and neither is Richardson. I think it'd be curious to see how they would handle those situations learning underneath a guy like Richardson. So, y'all, if you want to interact with me, we got one more name to get to. Remember, you can always hit me up on Twitter. You can always hit me up on Instagram. And if you want to interact with me on Venmo as well, we're going to start doing a lot more giveaways, like 50-50 raffles, if you will, during our Raiders watch parties or when there's big-time breaking news. So I know it's surprising. Mitchell Renz 365, it's going to be on my tombstone, but definitely a name to keep in mind. I know his picture isn't there, Jeremy. It's all good. So we'll still go to it. So here are some honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up here. Anthony Harris, he was released today, and again, I'm recording this video on Tuesday. He was released. Donta Hightower to be a name. Jason Pierre-Paul, Danny Shelton for names to keep in mind. Chris Harris Jr. But when I made this entire show, the Raiders didn't trade away Trayvon Mullen yet. I would also throw in a name like Jackrabbit Jenkins as a solid cornerback to at least keep in mind for the Raiders to potentially go out and target in free agency. But coming in here at number 1, it's Daryl Williams. I know, it's a shocker. This really shouldn't surprise anyone. He could play offensive guard. He could play offensive tackle. He would be the second best offensive lineman on the Raiders right now behind only Colton Miller. Last season, he played 600 snaps at right guard, 571 at right tackle. However, every season that he's played, majority of his snaps at tackle, he has finished in like the top 20 overall rankings according to PFF. When you look at his numbers, 67.5 overall, it's not great, but I do not anticipate him playing offensive guard. If they put him there, whatever, he would be the offensive tackle for the Raiders. At least that's where I would hope they would put him. He's 6'6", he's 330 pounds, 17 games last season, 4 sacks given up. Daryl Williams is the number 1 free agent that the Raiders should sign. At least that's what I personally think. But this show isn't because of me. The reason why this show is the number 1 Raiders show in the world is because of the Raider Nation. It's the diehard fans that we have around here. So if you think that Daryl Williams is the number 1 free agent that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler should sign, type your Y for yes. If you think it's somebody else, type N for no. Here's the thing, though. I want to know who you think should be number 1. So one more time here, let's look at the top 10 Raiders free agent targets. And again, my idea of making the show was after the 53-man roster cuts. So if you're watching this live, you'll know technically that hasn't happened yet. If you're watching this on a later date, just please keep that in mind. But if you want to take a screenshot of this, if you want to send it out there on social media, it helps out the show a lot, and I would definitely appreciate it. So before we end this cut here, I want you to name a free agent that you believe the Raiders should sign. If it's Daryl Williams, type their name. Maybe it's OBJ, type their name. If it's multiple people, please let me know. Name a free agent that the Raiders should sign.